But just thinking about why I'm supporting Bernie, and just I was reading something earlier. I mean, there are black people who support Bernie all over the country. We have expats who support Bernie. I mean, young, old, it doesn't really matter. You know, there's an article today in the Burlington Free Press with a great interview from Tavis Hall. He's a business owner in Waterloo, and he's a black burner. And he's talking about how the fight for 15, like that $15, like increasing minimum wage, you know, we're investing in all these business districts and we want to really, really help small businesses. Who's going to shop at your business? If people can't afford to take care of their families, people can't afford the basics. We just talked about people getting cut off SNAP, and part of that's with the work requirement, because since unemployment has allegedly come down, people are expected to go back to work, and you know there's a work requirement involved with getting food stamps. A lot of people don't understand that. Like, you're not working to get a check, you're working to get food stamps. So you're working for pennies on the dollar, and a lot of those work activities, you know, corporations get subsidized in so many different ways, and people working for corporations, they get benefits from states for welfare recipients. That's one of the many ways that corporate welfare runs amok in our society, and that's one of the things that Bernie Sanders talks about a lot. And what Mr. Hall was saying in this article in the Burlington Free Press was that, you know, part of supporting Bernie is the fact that he is really putting this emphasis on the economy in a new way that will benefit small businesses, because small businesses have been hurt. We don't talk a lot about small businesses. You know, everyone's so focused on what's going to happen if this multinational corporation takes their job. You know what? Multinational corporations have been getting huge bonuses. They've had record-breaking profits, and people are still getting laid off. Warehouses are still being shut down. That's not trickling down to anyone here. Same thing, you know, trickle-down economics doesn't work. Corporate feminism doesn't trickle down either. I mean, we really, you know.
Wait a minute. You said something really dope there, and I unpacked it in my head, and I want you to tell me if I'm unpacking it correct. Hillary Clinton being promoted as this champion of women's rights because of the work she did advancing women in leadership positions at Walmart. Would you consider, and while people who are making $8 an hour struggling to survive, women are suffering, are you saying that would that be an example of feminist corporate feminist trickle down theory? Is that what you called it?
Yes. So basically, like, again, in the 90s, there was like a really monumental speech. Hillary Clinton gave this awesome speech in Beijing, China. I mean, there are these really large issues that, for the most part, everyone on the Democratic side can agree upon. You know, choice, equal pay. But when we really start getting down to the nitty-gritty, equal pay, you know, having poor women make the same as poor men, everybody's still poor. And when we're talking about the equal pay argument, like, seriously, there is issues with racial equality and equal pay. No one wants to talk about how there are studies that show that black men and Latino men make less than white women. So while we're talking about, like, again, while we're talking about equal pay and equality, we need to have equal pay across the board. So if you're doing the same job, unless you have something special that gets you like a little extra something special bump here, you know, on the merits, like a real meritocracy, you know, so no, fighting for upper executives. I saw some clip of Chelsea Clinton talking about, you know, making sure we have more women executives. You know what? Women executives, and Carly Fiorina is a good example of that, women executives are screwing people over too. It's a certain value system, and being of a certain gender does not change that at all. So we have overwhelmingly, you know, when we're talking about low-income workers are overwhelmingly women, and they're overwhelmingly women of color. And so when we're having Hillary Clinton tell us that, you know, $12 is good enough for you, I mean, we can say that $15 is not quite a living wage, but it's far better than anything else that's being put on the table. And it's not just $15, it's $15 and a union. You know, the Fight for 15 folks, I mean, it's been wonderful to watch people in action. But the call is Fight for 15 in a union, and they keep saying, come get my vote. She's just saying, like, well, 12 is good enough, so what you going to do? So when everyone's like, oh, Bernie's a racist or Bernie's this, Bernie's the only one that's actually listening. Black Lives Matter confronts Bernie in July. What does he do? He takes stock. He hires Simone Sanders. You got his African-American outreach director, Marcus Farrell. You got all these wonderful, brilliant people who come on staff as the money starts to come in to hire people, and he unveils this beautiful racial justice platform with 5 5 different aspects of racial justice. Is there room for development? Can we have further conversations? Sure, but at least we have a great starting point. But really, it's like, well, I mean, you know,
I could whip a nene. I could dab. That's what
I
she's.
mean,
That's her
my
out.
husband was the first black president, and BTW, I'm pro death penalty. I mean, that's another issue. So it's very disingenuous. People jump on the little sound bites. I really feel like a lot of folks are, even though we have to protect Obama. It's like that skit in The Living Color. Like, don't talk about, what did she say? Don't talk about my miss, I can't even think of it now. It slipped my tongue. But
You young.
Kim
You
Waynes
too
does
young.
that bit.
You
Kim
too young
Waynes
for
does
the
that
living
bit.
color.
No, I'm not too young. No, I'm not too young. Kim Waynes does that bit. Now, don't nobody talk about Miss Jink. I can't
I
remember
gotta
her name, but anyway,
cut you off. Let me cut you off for two
go
reasons.
ahead.
One, because I have a caller. But two, ladies and gentlemen, can y'all see why I brought on Anoa to be with me on air? Because listen, I put out a call like last week. I'm like, oh goodness, we need some women progressive army members who could come on here and represent, not because we want you to talk about women issues, just because we want you to talk up. I like being around women personally, but then still I just like to hear other alternative experiences, and you bring a wealth of experiences that none of us, all the men that are always in here, we would ever have. So thank you so much, and I just wanted to recognize that I've got to get you back more often. That's number.
Thank you.
All right, let me go to this caller. Caller 215. You're live on the air. What's your name?